Hello and welcome to a Real Chip Show. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and well, I just wanted a change of pace on a Sunday night, so I thought I would go live here with you and have a little bit of a conversation about whatever you want to talk about, or whatever I want to talk about, because it's a Real Chip Show and I have no agenda for these. It's just flying by the seat of my pants, having some fun. So that's what we're going to do. I do have a few things that are on my mind that I thought I would share with some of you. I know that I did get a lot of questions earlier this week about the video studio that I've created here in my home office. And later on, I think this week I'll be doing a live show where I walk through all of the different components that I have for the studio, all of the different cameras and software, and all the little things I've cobbled together to make this reasonably semi-professional, at least. And I've had some fun doing it, and hopefully there'll be some lessons that you can take from it as you're looking to perhaps increase your own video production or improve the production quality if you're already doing video and that sort of thing. So we'll do that later in the week, though, and we'll have a dedicated stream for that where I walk through all of the different elements, audio, video, software, hardware, etc. But tonight, I see that Roxanne is saying hello. Hello, Roxanne. Great to have you here. Really enjoying your cooking videos. So if you're friends with Roxanne and haven't seen her cooking videos, you need to check them out because they always make me hungry. And if only, Roxanne, you lived a little bit closer, I would be able to hop on over and steal some of that food that you're making, or just some of the ingredients that you're growing on your farm. However, I don't want to have anything to do with the bees. You can deal with your own beehive. I have no interest to be anywhere near that. So, all right. So the one thing, or one of the few things that I had in mind to actually talk about tonight was my new laptop. And I know not all of you are techies, and you don't have to be a techie to appreciate this one, but I recently had to pick up a new laptop because I sold my MacBook Air to my son, who is headed to college in a few weeks. Some of you, if you're watching here on Facebook, may know him. And if you're watching on YouTube or somewhere else, you probably don't know my son. But in any case, he is headed off to college in a few weeks, and he decided he wanted an upgrade from the Chromebook that he had been using in high school and needed a proper computer. He also, by the way, is my summer associate at Agency Leadership Advisors, so I'm putting him to work, and he needed something a little bit better to help me out with some of the work that I've assigned him as part of that. In any event, I became sick of the Apple Mac environment, and I've been using a MacBook Air of one form or another for probably the last decade or so. And when I first got into it, I was really excited. They did exactly what I wanted them to do. They were thin, they were light, they were cool, fantastic. And when I got my first MacBook Air, I actually had a Mac Pro that I used because I used to, many of you don't know this, but I used to do a fair amount of video production back in the late aughts, right? I guess that's what we call the 2000 to 2010 period. I had a publication called Cork and Knife where I used to produce some videos for that. In fact, one of the cameras I have is one from way back then. This shot over here is from a camera that I picked up in, I want to say 06, 07, somewhere in that time frame. And it was great in the day, and it's not a bad camera, but it's not quite as nice as camera one up here. So in any case, it is the Mac served me well. The MacBook Air served me well. I had one for, I think, 6 years, which is about the longest I've ever had a laptop. Many of you know I used to travel a lot for work. Obviously, these days, most of us are not doing a lot of travel for work. And I'll get more to that in a minute because that went into my selection of the laptop that I picked. But over the last few years, I've just found that the performance of the MacBook Air hasn't been up to snuff. It hasn't been what I was looking for. And honestly, I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years working on my main desktop, which is where I'm coming to you from today, which is a Windows 10 machine that I built back in 2014, believe it or not. So this desktop that's running all of this video and lets me do all the video editing is actually 6 years old. So a little on the dated side, but it still is keeping up with all the needs that I have. And I really started to find that Windows, the problems that I'd had that caused me to seek out Macs in the first place were largely gone. The blue screen of death is a rare, rare thing, except when I'm tinkering with some of my hardware and screw something up. But I was looking to get out. My son was looking for a laptop. I tried to talk him into Windows, but he really wanted to go the Mac route, and so I sold him my year-old MacBook Air and decided that it was time for me to get something else. And so I had a decision to make. And one of the things that went into this decision, as I alluded to before, is the fact that I'm not traveling right now. So when I'm traveling, I want to have the thinnest, lightest laptop, generally speaking, that I can have. Although at the same time, I want it to have performance. So that's a tough thing to get in one package, at least at an affordable price. And like most of you, I'm trying to conserve cash these days because we have no idea what's on the horizon, and we want to try to be as cautious as possible. In any case, I did a lot of research, and I looked at 13-inch laptops. I looked at 15-inch laptops, and I was coming close to a decision to pick up a 13-inch, probably the Dell XPS 13. That was the leading candidate. But I was doing a little bit more research, and I got intrigued by some new laptops that were coming out using the AMD Ryzen chips. And for those of you who are not technical, you probably don't care about this, but Intel has dominated the CPU space for a number of years. AMD has always been an upstart, but in recent years, AMD really has made some headway in coming up with high performance and fairly affordable chipsets that run the computer. And so I was looking at those and said, maybe I'll give that a try. I do actually have this main machine here is an Intel chip. It's an i7 4790K for those of you who are all geeked out. But this machine that I have back behind me, which is dual boot between Windows and Linux, because I'm that cool. Yeah, I know, I'm a nerd. That's an old Athlon chip, so it's not very fast. But for a backup machine and to allow me to play around with Linux a little bit, it does perfectly for that. So I have some experience with AMD, but I was a little bit cautious about going into the laptop space until I saw a bunch of reviews for this laptop that I picked up right here. And this is the HP Envy x360 15-inch version. And I've had 15-inch versions before of laptops, and my biggest concern was that they're certainly a bit bulkier, they're certainly heavier, larger footprint, all that. But I said to myself, it's unlikely I'm going to be doing a lot of travel probably for at least another year. And so that wasn't as important a decision. Now, generally speaking, on a laptop, I'm fine with a 13-inch screen because it is typically, for me, a secondary machine that I'm using when traveling, or when I'm here at home. It's if I want to sit out on the porch and enjoy some of the nice weather, which we've actually been having. Well, we haven't had sun here in New Hampshire, but we've had cooler temperatures. So I've actually got the windows open for the first time in a while, and that's kind of nice. But so I don't really need that large screen. I've had large screen laptops before, and I was always sort of ambivalent about the extra square inches that you would get. But what helped me make my decision here was that 13-inch laptops in general are not upgradable. They generally have the memory and hard drive soldered right onto the motherboard inside. And so you can't upgrade it. And I like to try to upgrade my computers whenever possible, or at least have that ability. It gives me flexibility. And so the 15-inch models generally do. And so this particular model will switch over to camera 2 here, so you have the overhead view. Let me slide my keyboard back so you can kind of see it at least a little bit better. I need to work on the lighting for my desktop area here. But if I flip the laptop over, you may be able to see here that there are these rubber strips. And if you peel those rubber strips away, there are a few screws underneath, and you can lift this off. And so then you're able to upgrade the memory and the hard drive in this machine. I decided to start out with 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte rather. God, I'm old, talking about these small numbers. Gigabyte, 512 gigabyte hard drive. because I thought that would probably hold me well. The 8 gigabytes of RAM I wasn't as excited about, but when I picked up this machine, the only place I could find it available without a really long wait was the local Best Buy, actually, and 8 gigabytes was all they offered. But because it's upgradable, I know that I can go to 16 gigabytes of RAM pretty easily whenever I may choose to do that. So it's nice to have that that flexibility there. Now, this particular computer, there are some other advantages. Let me flip this up again. We'll go back over to camera 2 here. And one of the things that you may be able to see here is that this is a well, not a full size, but it's a full key keyboard. So it's got the number pad here on the side. And as you listen to me here, you'll know I'm not a formal tech reviewer. I am kind of a tech geek, but I'm no expert by any means. And so if I don't say the right terms, you know, who cares? It doesn't matter. So in any case, so it's got the numerical keypad, which I really like. I use it quite a bit, particularly because I have two-factor authentication set up on most of my online accounts, and so that means I'm constantly entering numbers into my keyboard, and so having it right here on a numeric keypad is great. And Roxanne asks if the keys light up, and so I will fire this machine up here and show you that they do indeed light up, and hopefully we'll be able to see that here on the camera. Maybe if I tilt it a little bit, you may be able to see a bit better, and you can actually control the brightness of the keyboard display. I don't think we're going to have enough. Here, let me see if I shut off the studio lights, if that makes it. Yeah, so there, if I shut off the studio lights, you can see better that it does indeed light up, and you can control the brightness, which is kind of nice. So it's got everything you would need here. There were a few things in the reviews that did cause me a little bit of concern, but most of them haven't turned out to be any kind of an issue for me. One is that the power button is in an odd location instead of being up here where you would typically find it on a laptop or on the side or something like that. It's right here, right next to the delete key. And so that's sort of an odd placement for it, and not what I would necessarily have chosen to do if I were architecting the keyboard. And I was afraid that I would keep hitting it and shutting the computer off accidentally, but as it turns out, it hasn't really been an issue. There is a nice feature right next to it, which is the a camera shutoff button. So it'll actually, and there's no way you'll be able to see this on the. Actually, let's see. Maybe if I go over to my portable camera, let's see if I can show it from my portable camera here. Let's see. Oh, and you're getting to see me in. Let's see. That's not. Oh, because I've got the. Well. How do I flip this around? You know? There we go. Nope. Well, you know, that's a failed experiment there. We'll have to work on that for the future. But there is, it basically turns the camera white. And so it allows you to know that you are not broadcasting any video to anybody. And I know a lot of folks are concerned about that. A lot of people will put the piece of tape over the screen, over the camera rather, and if that's something that worries you, that's a nice feature in this particular laptop. Now let me go ahead and power it back up here, because the other thing that I want to show you is it does have a fingerprint sensor. I will say the fingerprint sensor is a little bit finicky, and if I don't put my finger down just right, then sometimes it won't bring me in quite as easily as I would like. It is a 2-in-1 laptop, so you can see here, let's see, you can see that I can tent it like this, or I can turn it into more of a tablet orientation here. Let's see, there we go. And so I can do things like this, where I can just tap on the screen. Do I want to switch to tablet mode? Yes, because that's where I am. And so I can, you know, bring up the browser or do whatever it is that I want to do here. And so it is nice to have that. I didn't get the pen with it. That wasn't an option in the Best Buy purchase that I made. I will probably pick up a pen at some point, if for no other reason than I can then use this laptop so that I can use it effectively as a whiteboard for some of these videos that I'm doing. Which you know, is a nice function to have. I've been using my iPad for that a little bit, but it's a little bit clunky mixing the iPad with the Windows machine. You have to use some additional software to do it, and it hasn't worked out quite as nicely as I would like to do it. Yes, and Roxanne says that the light up keys make it easy to work early in the morning, and I am indeed an early morning worker. And Liz, good to see you here too, Liz. Also after the sun goes down in the winter, and of course, being in the northern climates that we're in, we don't have a lot of sun in the winter, so it is what it is. In any case, so let's see, what else can I tell you about this laptop? The trackpad here, the touchpad is nicely sized. Some people complain that it's not quite as big as it is on some others. It works just fine for me. I haven't had any issues there. It does have Bang & Olufsen sound, and if you care about that, that's important. I don't really care at all about laptop sound. I'm really focused just on using it. I may watch some YouTube videos or things like that on it, or listen to a podcast, and it does perfectly fine for that, but frankly, most laptops will. You may have noticed that the screen is pretty glossy, and so that can be an issue if you're someone who likes to use your laptop outside. That glossiness can be a problem. I found that when I sit on the porch, it's a screened-in porch. I don't have a lot of direct sunlight, but depending on time of day, I may have to angle the computer a little bit so that the sun isn't reflecting directly on it. Some people have complained about the brightness on it. I haven't had any issues even on a bright day. Again, on the porch, so not direct sunlight for the most part. But even when I've had to move it because of glare from the glossy screen, it really hasn't been an issue as far as the brightness of the screen. So I've been happy with that. Now, I did have a couple of issues with the computer. They're ones that you may or may not experience. One of them was related to my home network, actually. It kept dropping the network connection. And for those of you who are technical out there, it's because my wireless access point has MuMimo on it, and unfortunately that can be unstable at times, so I had to turn that off on the access point because it continuously dropped the signal on this, so I'd be able to use the Wi-Fi for about 10 minutes on it, and then it would just shut off. I had to switch over to my backup Wi-Fi network in my house. It was a pain. I didn't want to do that. So after a couple of hours of research, I figured out that it was likely related to the access point, and ever since I turned off that setting, I haven't had any further issues. So that's something you may not experience. Hopefully you don't, but fortunately I was technical enough to be able to sort that one through. The other issue I had is a little bit more unusual. I have seen some people who have had a similar issue, and it's when it goes to sleep, it can be difficult to get it to wake up. And so I had some problems with that, and I think through user error, I was ending up rebooting the system instead of waking it from sleep. For me, the solution was simple. I simply switched it so that instead of going to sleep, it hibernates. It does add a few additional seconds of startup time, but frankly, it's better for the battery anyway, as far as battery life, because if you hibernate, that basically shuts the battery off completely, whereas sleep is continuing to sip at the battery. I haven't had any issues. It fires up in 6 or 7 seconds, typically from the time that I lift the lid. So not an issue for me. You do have to be a little bit technical again to sort of sort that one through. But it may be because of some of the customizations that I generally make to a computer that cause that as a side effect. Who knows? But just be aware that that's a potential issue to look at. If you have that problem, just switch it over to hibernate under the power settings in Windows, and it will take care of it just fine. And because it's a very fast laptop, I got the higher end version, the Ryzen 7, which has the 4700U processor, for those of you who are, again, geeking out there. So that's been, from a processor standpoint, it's very fast, but the other thing is it's got a very fast hard drive in it. It's got an M.2 NVMe, so that means, for those of you who care, that it's very fast. And so that means that it comes up from hibernation very quickly, because hibernation basically is writing to the disk and then coming back. I've lost all of you who have no technical interest, so my apologies for that. It kind of is what it is. Well, I don't think I have anything else about this laptop to share other than I'm just pretty happy with it. So it has, I guess some of you may be interested in ports. And so if you look here, it has, let's see if we can get it. Can we actually make it so you can see it? sort of, kind of. Yeah, there we go. So it's got, over here, it's got a headphone jack, HDMI port. It's got a drop jaw, I think they call it drop jaw, USB-A and a USB-C port here. And then on the other side, it's got the power jack, and it has a power brick, which is pretty light. I can show it to you if you're interested. Another USB-A jack and an SD card reader. I really like the SD card reader because I do a fair amount of photography, and so being able to take images if I'm traveling and put them directly onto my laptop without having to bring along or reach into my kit for my SD. Let's see, there we go. God, I'm really bad at finding where the camera is. My SD card and compact flash card reader. So, nice functionality there. I do have it hooked up when it's here on my desk. I've got it on a little bit of a stand so that I can use it over here, although most of the time I'm using my desktop here, but it is nice to have the ability to hop onto it here, particularly if I'm updating something on my desktop or I'm doing some video editing where I want to, it's rendering a video and I just want to let it focus its firepower there and do something else over here. And then I've got it hooked up to a USB-C hub so that I can have my keyboard, my clicky keyboard here, and my trackpad all hooked up to it. So anyway, probably beaten this to a pulp at this point. Steve Garfield, welcome here, Steve. You rate my room a 10 out of 10. Thank you, Steve. You've done a nice job on your room too, and hopefully the room rater guys will bless you with a 10 out of 10 score as well, because you've got some nice memorabilia and that sort of thing in your room too. And of course, that small guitar in the background is very nice too. Those of you who are not connected with Steve Garfield, he is one of the originalists in video blogging and those sorts of things. So great to have him here. He actually taught Jimmy Fallon a thing or two about online video, so that's pretty cool. So thanks for stopping by. I have worked on this a bit. I still have a little bit more tweaking to do, but I'm pretty happy with where things are at. So now I'm more focused on the content, which is probably where I should have started anyway. Let's see. Roxanne says no chill mat. I don't know what a chill mat is. I feel like I should know, but I don't. So if you'd like to share in the chat what a chill mat is, I will probably explain why I don't have one, or probably the fact that I don't know what it is a good enough explanation for why I don't. All right, so laptop. We've talked about laptop. You know, the other thing that I thought would be fun to talk about is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming out on Tuesday. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And I know that many of you probably don't care, but I am very, very, very excited about that. And the reason why I'm very excited about it is because I started using Flight Simulator way back in the 1980s on my Tandy 1000 that I had when I was a kid. And so yes, that does date me. And actually, let's see, you know what, let's see if we can find, let's go over here to the magic screen here, and we will go to, let's go to YouTube and see if we can see if anybody's got Flight Simulator on a Tandy 1000. This is the nice thing about YouTube. You can go find all sorts of things. Let's see. There we go. That is exactly what I remember it looking like. So let's see. Let's kill the sound here because I don't know how it will come through the speakers anyway. Okay, so this is what Flight Simulator looked like back in the 1980s when I first used it, and it was pretty cool even then for me. You know, I'm not a pilot. You know, obviously I fly a lot for business. I fly a lot for vacations and that kind of stuff. I like airplanes. It was pretty cool. But if you have not seen the trailer for Flight Simulator 2020, you are in for a big surprise for how different it looks. If that was the last thing you saw, was it on the Tandy 1000 or something like that, this is absolutely unbelievable. This is actual game footage, folks. This is crazy. I mean, look at how detailed it is. I mean, you could still tell that it's animations and not you know, not real life, if you will. But look, I mean, that detail is really just fantastic. And I know I probably shouldn't be geeking out as much about this as I am, but it is, to me, it is really cool. And so this has been much anticipated. It is coming out on Tuesday. It comes out in different versions, but it's also coming out as part of something called, was it Xbox Pass for the PC or something? I forget exactly what it's called, but they're basically offering it dirt cheap as a way to promote that product. But also, one of the reasons that Microsoft is promoting Flight Simulator so heavily is because it's actually a hybrid game that runs both on your computer and in the cloud. And it runs on the Azure cloud, which is Microsoft's answer to Amazon Web Services and those sorts of things. And apparently it has, from what I understand, 2 petabytes. 2 petabytes. So that's 2,000 terabytes. So if you've got a 1 terabyte hard drive in your computer, it's 2,000 of them. That's how much detail they have for the graphics. And so that's all kept up in the cloud, and it comes down to you as you're using it. And so to use Flight Simulator in the 4K mode and, you know, with all the bells and whistles, it requires a whole lot of horsepower, more horsepower than I have on my computer. So I know that I'm not going to get that full experience that we're seeing in the trailer there, but nevertheless, it's still going to be pretty cool, I think. And so I'm very much looking forward to that and being able to fly around to different parts of the world. And, you know, for the next number of months or perhaps longer, that's probably the only way I'm going to see parts of the world. You know, it's hard to say. It's hard to believe that I actually miss flying into places like Heathrow Airport, where normally you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing that again. But it can be fun. So, and Liz says she just found her Microsoft Flight Simulator manual from the 1980s. So, Liz, are you going to get Flight Simulator? Will you be trying it out? I don't know. To me, it's pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited about it. It does. For those of you who are technical geeks, the full experience, I believe, requires, I think they said, an 8-core, 16-thread machine, I believe, plus at least an NVIDIA RTX 2080 Super. Again, if I'm recalling the specs correctly, for the highest end capability. But more importantly, you need a really good internet connection. So the bare minimum internet connection that you need just to play it at an absolutely basic level is going to be a 5 megabit connection. Now, most people, if you've got, you know, cable internet or something like that, you're going to be fine. But if you're in a rural area where you're still you know, using DSL or something like that, you may be in trouble. You may not have enough for that, and it has to be dedicated, right? So everybody who's in your household who's also using that connection counts against that. So you need to have 5. But to get the full experience apparently requires 50 megabits dedicated downstream. That is a lot. That is quite a bit. Now, I'm fortunate because I do this video. I've got the maximum account that you can get in a residence. So I've got plenty. So that's not going to be my hang-up. My hang-up will be my processor and my video card, because I don't have the latest and greatest of those things. As I told you before, the computer itself is 6 years old, so it's a very old processor. Even though it was sort of top of the line back when I got it, it is now not even close to top of the line. And the video card is, I did have to upgrade that to do some of this streaming so that I could have all the cameras going at the same time and things like that, but it's still not anywhere near a 2080 quality. So so Liz is going to pick it up, so that's exciting. That's great. So what else can I say about Flight Simulator? I guess nothing other than I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. And now the last thing that I had, and if you're watching this, is my video jittery? Because my preview window over here seems to be showing it as if it's jittery. Now that is very unusual. That doesn't usually happen when I stream. So if it is happening, I am curious as to why. Hopefully it's not because I've added extra cameras, but I don't think I have. I only have one more camera than usual today. So in any case, if you are seeing dropped frames, jitteriness, do let me know, because that's something that I will have to look into after this session. Roxanne says yes, so it has been dropping a little bit. So here, let me try to kill this off here. Since I'm not using the camera that I have on my iPhone, I will turn that off, and so that may decrease some of the processing needs here. But so the last thing I want to do is just a little bit of a rant. And so most of us these days watch a lot of these streaming video services. And I have to tell you, I'm not happy with them. The interfaces on just about all of these platforms is I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. When you're browsing through on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, it's constantly recommending things to me that I've already watched. It even knows that I've watched it because it will have a section where it says recommended because you watched this, but then somewhere else it will recommend that you watched that. And I get it. You know, the engineers are trying to come up with algorithms that are designed to get you to keep watching more, and a lot of people do enjoy watching the same movie multiple times. But still, if you're working on a recommendation engine, you know, maybe have one section where you've got watch it again, but don't keep mixing it in because it makes it very difficult, particularly for people like me who are a little bit slow and, you know, sometimes I forget if I've watched something, and there's nothing worse than watching a movie or a TV episode and sitting there and halfway through saying, you know, I've already seen this. I know exactly what happens next. That's terrible. I don't want that. So don't recommend things like that. The other thing, and this one just drives me absolutely bonkers. When you're on Netflix and you get down to new releases, half of the things in my new releases, maybe more than half of the things, are from 2019. It's still showing The Irishman to me as a new release. The Irishman is not a new release. Stop it. Please, please don't do that. Come up with a better way to make these recommendation engines work. Come up with a better interface that makes it easy for me to find something else to watch. Don't do this to me where you're constantly recommending things I've watched or things that are old. Just help me find the right stuff. Hey Kate, great to see you here. It has been quite a while. Hope you're doing well. I worked with Kate back in 1997 and 8 maybe, Kate? I think that's right. So wow, that was a long time. I had hair back then. I did have the glasses though, but I also had hair. So in any case, so I know none of you who are listening, unless maybe my brother's listening, you can't do anything about the fact that these video recommendation engines are not good. But, and I'm looking at my video is just completely frozen here. This is not good. This is not good, folks. We don't want frozen video. I don't want that. That's bad. That's bad. Well, so since we are, you know, having a few technical difficulties here, I don't really want to force you to endure that anymore. But Kate says great memory. Yeah, I don't know about that. Some things I can remember, but not all the time. So it is good when the memory does function. And these days it is odd because, you know, basically this 15 by 15 foot room is where I spend most of my waking hours. Except when I take that new laptop we were talking about out to the porch. See, I can tie the whole show together from beginning to end. How's that for you? All right. Well, I think I've gone on and on for enough, tortured you all enough. Thank you for all of you who have tuned in. I appreciate the comments and you know, welcome any feedback that you have. And you know, we'll try not to make it quite so long the next time before I come back here. Maybe. Who knows? We'll try to come back soon and try to find some topics that folks are interested in hearing me ramble on about. So with that, thank you all for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, and I'll talk to you all again soon.